What's up, what's up, your boy Domuto over here back with another video today watching UnrealEntGaming. Hold on, today we're watching Beyond Dragon Ball Super, the top 5 strongest warriors in the Multiverse return, Vegeta's revelation. Okay. I'm ready. I saw my boy Vegeta in the mirror realm. We got maybe some new enemies coming out, you know what I'm saying? And said the top 5 strongest warriors return. We want to see Budo bitch ass and my nigga Takira. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, let's get into it.
As our story now continues, following the initial events of the Elder Sage being shown having to reveal himself to Vegeta upon having to be shown entering within the Mirror Realm, to which it was only shortly after the Elder Sage had explained to Vegeta as to what this realm was, with Vegeta having more questions to ask the Elder Sage, was when Vegeta went on to then respond, "Tell me then, since you appear to know so much about why I'm here and what it is that I'm searching for, then tell me on where I'd need to look in order for me to go and find what it is that I'm looking for, Sage. Where exactly am I supposed to look, or is there something more to all of this that you have yet to tell me about, because now I want to know." With the Elder Sage responding, "You ask on how I know what it is that you are searching for, but I have been observing souls like yours for eons upon having to enter into this realm, as you are also not the first Saiyan that the Angel Whis had sent here, as you may already know, for your hunger for power and your hunger for transcendence radiates from your very being," the Elder Sage continues, "for you seek an evolution that far surpasses your previously god-surpassing level, which at your peak goes far above the gods of destruction as you wield this mastered ultra ego form of yours. But allow me to ask you, how are you so sure that the answers that you are in search for are not already right in front of you, which you have yet to see?" "Well, because had I already would have seen the answers that were lying right in front of me," Vegeta went on to then respond, "then I wouldn't have been told to come into this realm, now would I? So what are you able to see that I cannot, Sage?" With the Elder Sage responding, "Many things in fact, and your future is one of them, though it is clear to me that you cannot see it for yourself, but I most definitely can, as you are rather an interesting specimen when compared to the Saiyan mortal who came here before you. Yes, for you are far more vicious and far more ruthless than the Saiyan who came before you, Kakarot as you call him, for his approach is one of instinct and adaptation, while yours is driven by the unrelenting thirst to surpass every warrior who dares to stand before you. And yet even then, what you fail to realize is that your greatest enemy along with your greatest challenge isn't one that comes from the outside, but it is rather one that comes from deep within." With Vegeta responding, "Is that so? And why is it that you believe that I am my own greatest enemy, with my biggest challenge coming from within rather than on the outside? How do you know this to be true?" With the Elder Sage responding, "Because unlike the Saiyan mortal Goku, the evolution that you seek that goes far beyond your current level of power isn't one that is forged through life, but is rather one that is forged through death, Saiyan. For your biggest step forward is also one of your greatest fears, for unlike the Saiyan mortal Goku, your greatest challenge is to see if you can overtake death and rise through the fires right out of it as a new warrior altogether, because where Son Goku had found his strength through rebirth and through renewal, your path on the other hand is the opposite, for your evolution lies not in life but in death, Vegeta. For the very essence of death is not merely an end, but it is rather more of a transition," the Elder Sage continues, "a force that shapes those who are strong enough to understand it, as you will go on to find the answers that you seek in the moments when death becomes inevitable, only when there is no escape. And if you don't want to go and take my word for it, then turn around and see for yourself. For it'll be within those moments," the Elder Sage went on to continue, upon Vegeta being shown turning around and noticing a strange silhouette behind him, "where you must go and come to terms with what death truly is, not just as an opponent to be feared, but a force to be mastered," the Elder Sage says. "And to evolve, you must not only accept death, but master it as well. But remember this, for I will not give you all of the answers that you seek, for you must undergo and discover these truths for yourself, and at the precise moment when death stands before you, only then will you truly evolve." With Vegeta responding, "So is this supposed to be the reflection of my newly discovered evolution, or am I looking at the concept of death having to overtake me? Because why is it so difficult for me to go and see as to what this is. Well, that is for you to decide, the Elder Sage responds, as I cannot tell you when, nor can I tell you how or why, but only you will be the one to be able to determine on what happens when that time comes, with Vegeta responding, and how are you so sure that what I'm looking at isn't just a reflection of some other previously existing transformation, or for this to be some kind of illusion? How could you be absolutely sure? As the Elder Sage responds, heed not, because if you truly want to know, then try and look a little deeper and you will feel it calling out if you haven't by now, Saiyan. I see, Vegeta responds, and so whatever this is that I'm looking at that comes from the other side is essentially either going to be my ultimate accomplishment or my greatest downfall. For I can also feel it calling out to me, but how exactly am I supposed to strive to achieve whatever it is that I'm looking at, especially if it means achieving it in a completely opposite way to how Kakarot was able to achieve his angel form? And so is it by cheating death? With the Elder Sage responding, but I warn you now, Saiyan, for if at any point you stray away from this path, if your devotion falters, and if your will to surpass yourself begins to wane, then your quest for true evolution will perish alongside with it. For power, true power at that, is not gained through half measures, as it is within the very moment that you begin to lose sight of your purpose, the very force that drives you towards the ascension that you seek will fade, the Elder Sage continues, leaving you forever by the wayside, stranded in your own mediocrity, to which it was only upon with Vegeta now being shown having to turn around and noticing the silhouette being gone was when Vegeta went on to then respond, what? And what exactly do you mean by having it what the? Wait, but where did that shadow that was just standing right in front of me through this mirror just go? For it had just disappeared, but why? Did I miss something just now? With the Elder Sage having to chime back in, this is what will happen if you lose sight of where you want to be in exchange of worrying on where others are rather than focusing on your own destiny, Saiyan. For I have said all that I needed to go and say to you, and do with that information as you will, the Elder Sage continues upon them being shown grabbing onto the back of Vegeta's shirt. And while you're at it, do make sure to go and tell your Angel Whis to warn me ahead of time the next time he decides to go and throw one of you in here, the Sage continues. Now get out of my realm and don't come back unless it's important, Saiyan. To which this was exactly what the Elder Sage had in mind, because with Vegeta being shown having to be thrown back right onto Beerus's planet was when a surprised Goku then went on to quickly respond, whoa, hey, it's Vegeta. Well, gosh, that was pretty fast, with Whis chiming back in. Well, indeed it was, but do tell us now, Vegeta, were you able to acquire the answers to the questions that you were looking for? To which it was only during this time when then having to venture on back and seeing what both the Omni Kings and the Grand Priest were up to following their construction of the Omniversal Tournament of Power stage was when the Grand Priest went on to then respond, now while I am sure that the Omni Kings are going to be far too excited for this upcoming event to follow my tracks and see what it is that I am up to once everything here goes exactly as they intend for things to go, I will only then see if I can track whatever that was down in the process and see if I can come up with some kind of answer as to what that energy surge was just now, and so perhaps I will go and pay a visit to the Watchers and see if they may know of or have seen anything that could bring me one step closer towards finding out as to what that energy was, as while my body appears to be shaking not because of fear but rather because its sudden and brief appearance, the Grand Priest continues, only makes me question more as to what the source of that very power had come from. But then it was suddenly from the stage beneath the Grand Priest, with both of the Omni Kings shown having to address the Grand Priest, was when the present Omni King went on to then respond, hey, Grand Minister, we love it. The stage is just the perfect size for the battles that we want to see be a part of this massive event, but we also want to go and ask you something else in the meantime, since all three of us are already here, right, future me? Yeah, that's right, because since we're almost done with everything, we wanted to go and ask you if you can go and do us both a favor, as in right now if you could, with the Grand Priest responding, do you now? Well, very well then, sires, and what exactly is it that you would like for me to go and do for you both in the meantime then, with the present Omni King responding, well, since we really didn't have the chance to go and directly speak to them ourselves, since we already know that they'll be taking part of our Omniversal Tournament of Power too, we would want for you to go and summon the remaining 4 strongest in the multiverse, so that way we can go and speak to everyone all at once at the same time, with the future Omni King chiming back in. That's right, and furthermore, we also want to go and address on when this event will be going and taking place, so that way we can have all parties be ready for once the second Tournament of Power finally begins. Goodness, well, I should have known that you'd want for them to come forth and speak with them before this grand event were to take place. However, be that as it may, I will go on ahead and spawn them in within this realm now, and so let me see if I can go and get them for you in the meantime. But then, it was only just upon with the Grand Priest being shown opening up a portal just before having to venture out and bringing the remaining 4 strongest into this realm was when the present Omni King then went on to chime back in. Well, actually, Grand Minister, we didn't mean for you to have to go and get them individually by leaving and going out of your way to come to them, so instead, we were thinking if you'd stay here and have all 4 of them come to us
they fucking
instead.
up your plan.
So that way, not only would that save you all of the time of going into each of their worlds to go and get them, and so you can just call them right here instead, with the future Omni King responding, yeah, I agree, and so you should go and come down onto the stage here with us and call them all forward into this realm together instead. Well, as you wish then, sires, the Grand Priest went on to then teleport down onto the stage, for I will now go and do just that and bring them all forward before you both while we all remain in this realm together as one, so that way you may go and address and speak to them as you see fit. And so in the meantime, while I go and do this, please allow me for a moment to assist you while I call for them, for I welcome you both to go and take your seats in the meantime, so that way I may go and call upon our guests in style and fashion while you both go and wait and speak to them all then, shall we? To which, as the Omni Kings were then shown having to do so, it was only just within that very moment as the Grand Priest went on to address the Omni Kings by sticking his arms out was when the Grand Priest then went on to continue. And so now during this time, I would like for you both to sit back and just relax as I will bring the mightiest in the multiverse here to you, sires. And so now then, let us go and proceed by bringing about the entryways of the mightiest, for each dimension and each realm that the 4 strongest reside in is but a very unique place of its own, with each containing different elements that not only define the laws of time and space within our own natural order, but it also introduces worlds that were directly responsible for shaping the strongest to be who they are today. And so with that being said, allow me to now go and call forward the 5th strongest ranking warrior in the entire multiverse, the mighty god of the Dragon Realm and master shapeshifter known as Budo. And so now come, Grey Warrior, for I call upon you to step forth and make your presence known, to which as the 5th ranking strongest warrior in the multiverse, Budo was then shown doing so. It was only while Budo was now shown having to enter into this dimension was when the Grand Priest then went to continue. And in case you may have forgotten, sires, for Budo's ability to shapeshift into virtually any warrior he learns about is also of the highest order, for he is able to alter his form at will to adapt to any combat situation, as this ability also makes him extremely unpredictable in allowing for him to switch between forms to better enhance his speed, defense, or his strength depending on the needs of the battle itself. However, it is not simply his power that sets him apart, but it is the way he approaches the realm of combat that makes Budo extremely dangerous in almost any given situation that he's placed in, sires. For Budo here also governs over a dimension where he finds himself constantly engaged in combat, the Grand Priest continues, not only for the sake of growing stronger, but almost as though as if it's done for his own amusement on top of it all as well, to which as Budo was then shown finally exiting was when Budo went on to address the Grand Priest by responding, "It's been quite a while since I have last seen you, Grand Minister, for despite me being in the middle of my meditation, I must ask on why you have decided to summon me, as you typically aren't shown having to call for me unless it is something very important that stems outside of training itself, and so why was I brought here?" With the Grand Priest responding, "Well,
don't worry about why you're here,
that,
nigga.
as it
Look,
is
you got
always
called.
good to see you, in fact, but I called for you to be brought into this realm in order for yourself,
Goku didn't take
along
your
with
spot,
the remaining
Budo.
strongest within the multiverse, to go and be informed of the coming events that will be directly driven by the Omni Kings who sit before you, as we in fact will be hosting another tournament which both you and the others will be a part of in competing within. For you can almost think of this as being something a little similar to the event that was held involving the Saiyan mortal Goku, which you and the others have gone on to battle, only this time of course on a far bigger and much larger of a scale than how it was shown be done before, as Budo went on to then respond, "Another tournament that was similar to the one held against Son Goku, you say? Now I see, for this must be his doing, given how he went on to go and bring this up to them the last time that we had seen him. But But if the Omni Kings plan on hosting a far larger and much bigger tournament than before, Budo continues, then as long as that Saiyan Goku along with his ally that goes by Vegeta are competing, then I'm in. Well, good, for I'm glad, the Grand Priest responds, but I would now like to call forward the 4th strongest ranking warrior in the entire multiverse, the mighty magician and master sorcerer of the Dark Prison Dimension, Akuma. And just in case if you may have forgotten about what this warrior is all about, then allow for me to go and fill you in and say that as a sorcerer of the mightiest caliber, Akuma can not only go as far as to bend reality itself to his very own will in shaping the world around him through the force of his magic to best suit whatever situation he finds himself in, but his sorcery goes on to further enhance his combat techniques in allowing for him to strike with lethal precision, for every move that Akuma makes is calculated and strategically planned out for the best possible outcome in battle, with each of his spells also being designed to debilitate his opponents before they can even realize that they are even in danger in the first place, as Akuma's illusions are not mere tricks but rather blur the lines between what is real and what is false until his enemies can no longer know on which way to turn or simply respond as to figuring out what they can do, and that's when Akuma will strike, to which as the Grand Priest went on to address Akuma was when the Grand Priest then went on to continue, well, it's been a while now, hasn't it? But just like Budo, it's good to see you once again, as I thank you for coming here on such short notice, Akuma, with Akuma responding, Honorable Minister, for it is good to be within your presence once more, but I must ask, why was I summoned here so suddenly? For I would like to know on what is your purpose of my presence being here before you, with Budo having to then chime in, well, if you really want to know, then you might want to go and take a look directly above you, for it would appear as though we were brought here because there is going to be an event that will be held that will require for us to compete in, for there is going to be a second tournament that was similar to the one waged against the mortal Son Goku, only this time, the tournament itself will be hosted by them, the Omni Kings, for that is why we were called here, with Akuma responding, a tournament to be held that was similar to the one waged against the mortal Goku? Why yes, the Grand Priest responds, for there is indeed going to be an event that is going to be hosted by the Omni Kings that will surely be our biggest one to date, and while the Omni Kings have asked for all of you to be here during this time, before we are all briefed on what is to come in the foreseeable future, the Grand Priest continues, it's time we go and call forward the remaining elite who are among the strongest warriors in the multiverse, because with 2 down, allow me to now call forward the 3rd strongest ranking warrior in the entire multiverse, the Grand Priest continues, as I now bring before you a being not just of extraordinary power, but a warrior whose very abilities challenge the very foundations of life itself, as I hereby introduce you to the great demon known as Yoshido. Among the 4 strongest warriors in the multiverse, Yoshido is not only a master soul possessor capable of reaching deep into the essence of others and bending their will to his own, but Yoshido's techniques are very unorthodox by its very nature, and in many ways, they also go on to defy logic and reason, for he doesn't merely just carry on by dominating his opponents through sheer strength, but Yoshido tends to break his opponents down from within by severing their connection to their own identity until they become nothing more than just an extension of his own will, and what also makes Yoshido so terrifying is that his powers are not just invasive, but they can also be made permanent in taking whatever soul he deems worthy enough as a prized possession, to which as Yoshido was then shown having to emerge was when Yoshido went on to then respond, well, and what do we happen to have over here? For I had a feeling that the rest of you would have been here, and so what is this all about? Are you all throwing some kind of a party here, or what? With Budo chiming in, oh great, it's him. Do you ever grow tired of playing such childish games? Because we weren't summoned into this realm to celebrate anything, Yoshido, with Akuma responding, for you should pardon your humor or lack thereof, and take into consideration the real reason as to why we've been summoned into this realm, Yoshido, with Yoshido responding, well, aside from the Grand Priest calling for us, which it is an honor to be within your presence once more, Grand Minister, the last time that we were all all brought forward like this was when we first had learned about and came face to face with that Saiyan mortal named Goku about a year ago. And since that mortal warrior doesn't appear to be here alongside with us, then why exactly are we here? With the Grand Priest responding, well, actually you don't need to look much further other than right there, for the very reason as to why you have all been summoned here is mainly because of the Omni Kings. And while we plan on forging along with hosting a new tournament that you will also be taking part of, I'd actually say that the reasons as to why you have all been called here is most definitely an important one, with Yoshido responding, the Omni Kings? And wait, did you just say that there is going to be another tournament that is going to be taking place? Well, how very interesting. Now I see. Well, excuse me for not knowing a little sooner, oh great ones, Yoshido continues upon being shown having to bow. But if you plan on hosting another tournament with the 5 of us as stars of your upcoming event, then far be it from me to decline, especially since I also look forward towards battling against that mortal Goku again, since of course we never truly had the chance to finish our battle after I was swapped out during the middle of my fight against him, and so you can all look forward towards witnessing a spectacular show, because that much I can most certainly go on to guarantee. And so now with that, the Grand Priest went on to then extend his arm by continuing, I present you the final of the 4 and the second strongest warrior in the entire multiverse, as I hereby call forth the supreme warrior known as Takira. As for a title such as being hailed as the second mightiest warrior in the entire multiverse is earned not by mere circumstance, but mainly and solely through unmatched power, tenacity, and skill, for Takira is a force of nature and one whose very strength alone would place him within the highest echelons of power, but it is not just his physical might that sets him apart from the others, as Takira's mind, his foresight, and his unparalleled fighting instincts make him a warrior who is far separated when compared to the rest, for Takira also possesses incredibly phenomenal abilities that allow for him to see beyond the present in granting him momentary precognition, in further ensuring that every move and every decision he makes places him 20 steps ahead of his opponents, as his foresight is not merely just a skill but a weapon itself, the Grand Priest continues, in thus making it nearly impossible for Takira's enemies to ever see Takira coming. But regardless of the situation itself, for Takira is very relentless in battle and also driven by an unshakable will to win no matter the odds that are placed in front of him, as his determination fuels every aspect of his being in allowing for him to push beyond his physical limits time and time again, even when having to face overwhelming adversity. Takira's spirit remains unbroken, to which as Takira was then shown having to step forward was when Yoshido then went on to respond, well, would you look at that, for it would seem as though the gang is finally back together once again now, isn't it? As it's been quite a long time there, Takira, with Takira responding, indeed it has, for we wouldn't have been summoned here if the matter itself wasn't important enough for it to be addressed, and so now that I'm here alongside you all, I intend on finding out as much information about our calling that I possibly can. So in the meantime, it is once again and always an honor to be within your presence, Venerable Minister, Takira went on to then bow by responding, but I must go on to ask on what the purpose of you calling me into this realm alongside the other mightiest is, for I would like for you to explain as to what this is all about, and so could you go and elaborate any further, with the Grand Priest responding, well, the pleasure is all mine, Takira, and as honored as I am to see you here once again, the purpose of your presence being called upon within this realm actually happens to involve the Omni Kings, who are in fact sitting right above you, as both they along with myself are going to be hosting a massive omniversal event that is going to be very similar to the tournament that you yourself were shown taking part of, when it was both you alongside with the other mightiest who went on to face off against the Saiyan mortal Goku well over a year ago, with Takira looking up by responding, the coming of an omniversal tournament similar to the one that was held when having to battle against the Saiyan mortal Goku? Yes, for now I see, as this must have been something that the Omni Kings were reminded of, especially since it was Son Goku who had went and brought up the concept of there being another tournament taking place up to them again, and so now it all makes sense as to why we are all here, for I would only assume that if they are looking to host such a massive event, then we would further go and be the first ones who are selected in garnering the information prior in having to prepare, to which as Takira was then shown bowing was when Takira then went on to continue, all-powerful Omni Kings, it is my highest honor to be standing here before you as we further await to hear on what it is that you both have to say, say, now that we are all here upon your request, as the Grand Priest then went on to respond, well, and there you have it now, sires, for we here, the top 5 strongest warriors in the multiverse, are all gathered together and humbly await for your response, as both of the Omni Kings then went on to respond, yay, this is so amazing, because we were waiting for such a long time on getting something like this to actually happen, and now that you're all finally here, we can't wait until we start to watch you fight again, only this time it'll be from warriors from all across different timelines and dimensions as well, and so we can't wait, with the Grand Priest responding, well, as I'm sure that the mightiest here beside me are also just as fired up and excited about this coming tournament as you are, sires, but be that as it may, and with all of us here now present before you, tell us then, if you may, what exactly was it that you intend to have the 5 of us here to be a part of, and more importantly, since of course I am also curious by what you have in mind, is how exactly do you intend to structure the upcoming rules, rewards, perks, and punishment for those that will go and be involved, and is there anything rather in particular that you have in mind for the strongest here, since they are likely going to be the core of what will make this Omniversal Tournament of Power 2 so special, and so is there anything that the two of you had in mind that you would like to go and share with us while we are all here before you, sires, as the future Omni King went on to respond, wow, this is just so cool, as I can only go and imagine on how amazing this upcoming tournament of ours is going to be, especially once we start to see the strongest fight against the strongest, and so there's so much for us to go and get into, right, present me? With the present Omni King responding, you bet, and while we can't wait to go and get in on all of the action as well, here's what we had in mind for those who win, those who lose, the winner of the tournament, and the rewards of what we promised to offer once the tournament is finally over, as it was only right then and there now, during that moment, where the Beyond Dragon Ball Super Story of the Omniverse, the official top 5 strongest warriors in the multiverse sequel, manga chapter number 5 special, then comes to a close.
Wow, shout out to UnrealEntGaming. Okay, I can't wait to see the rules, man. I cannot wait to see the rules. I'm very excited for the story, man. I'm very, very excited. Shit. Yeah, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. But anyway, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch y'all next time. Check out the last chapter. Check out another video right here. And yeah, like, comment, subscribe.